Nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows. Nobody has the faintest idea. The best guesses are lies. You may be sure of it.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, appreciate you coming over, man. We met at Gracie's a while back and ended up having some fun conversations, and I found you to be very interesting. And I started to I didn't even know who you were. I'm one of those people from the outside looking in. I'm like, Psyko Steve, I actually didn't know you were behind the scenes of all the music I've been watching for the last 25 years here in the Valley. So
we're behind some of it.
Quite a bit of it, yeah.
Yeah, a bit of it.
Yes, I was coming up here when I was living in Sierra Vista when I was 15 years old, 16, to the Jason DeVore Authority Zero shows. And so punk rock was my thing. I used to love Social D and NoFX. And yeah, anyway.
It's kind of where I grew doing it too, just going to shows, and was 16 going to tons of punk rock shows and those same shows. And then, at 17 started putting them on, so
it's cool. I wanted to give a brief overview. I know a lot of people know your background, but just maybe for people that are listening that have never heard of you, especially from other states, if you were to introduce yourself to the world, how would you say what you do when it comes to Psyko Steve Presents and owning the Rebel Lounge?
Short answer is I'm a concert promoter, and it all sort of stems from that. So I started promoting shows 25 years ago, started DIY booking stuff in high school. And then 10 years ago, I helped open the Rebel Lounge music venue I own. That's a 300 cap venue that used to be the Mason Jar, if you were coming up to those shows at that time.
Totally.
Remember? And so it's, a full company, own two businesses, the Psyko Steve Presents. We've got 10 employees. There's 10 of us full time in the office every day, plus, gig workers running shows and running events for us, and then plus the Rebel Lounge staff. So
it's wild,
managing all that. We did probably about just over 700 shows last year, including 2 festivals, and
And you've been in this world for 26 years, but even more, going back to like when you were in high school, just going to shows.
Yeah, although going to shows was very short-lived before I started doing them. Started going to shows really hardcore when I was 16, and then a year and a half later started producing them. So
what were you doing in high school though that you started making connections and trying to get people seen at venues that this sort of emerged?
I just went to a lot more shows than a lot of my friends did. And I think when I was 16, part of it where my parents were a little more loose with letting us go out on a school night or letting us, go to something on our own, drive to a show. And so, I quickly, I would go to shows by myself at 16 because I realized wait, none of my friends can go on a Tuesday. I'm tired of missing out.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go.
Yep.
Probably a little misleading to my parents about what I was doing a little bit, but, and so when you go to a show by yourself, I was meeting people that were not my friends that I went with, and it was discovering punk rock. So I was going to little tiny, the only reason I could afford to do that is I was going to $5 punk rock shows and local shows, it was not sneaking out to go to arena shows or amphitheater shows or something that, I was no, I want to go see this small band in the Nile basement or at Modified or wherever.
Yeah.
And as a result, loved that community because there is a community. I was meeting bands, meeting people at venues, meeting friends at making friends with people in different bands that didn't go to my high school. And so then my friends in high school didn't really know anyone. And they're like, oh, how do we get a show at Modified? I was like, well, I know the guy to call. I'll call him. And this is also dating it that it was calling. I wasn't using email at the time.
Sure.
Venues weren't
answering machines. Did we even have answering machines? There was answering machines.
We had answering machines. Yeah, and it was that those people were calling me back at the time. I didn't even have a cell phone when I was doing this. People were calling me back at my dad's house. I gave him the number of my dad's house. And it was
crazy.
Oh, there's a message for you on the answering machine. It literally was that.
Yeah.
Me leaving messages and trying to get a hold of people. And my friends didn't really know anyone outside of my friends in high school who were in bands didn't really know anyone outside of it. And I did, but I wasn't in bands. And so, that's what the promoter is sort of connecting people and being like, oh, I know how to connect this. But
you didn't know you were a promoter. You were almost just this organically.
It was totally
connecting.
and it kind of is how it started, because it was there was this guy, Scott Tennant, who used to book Modified Arts at the time, and I kind of knew him from just talking to him at shows. I didn't really, and I kept calling him about, hey, can my friends get on this show? My kids get on this show? And he kept telling me no. And then after, fourth or fifth time trying that, he's like, look, I'm not going to book these guys on these shows.
Yeah.
But I'll give you a Friday night and you can book whoever you want. And I went,
oh, cool.
We can do that?
Cool.
And, night came, I booked a couple of friends' bands, and then night of show was like, okay, how are you paying everyone? I'm like, I don't know.
Damn.
We didn't talk about this. It just,
we
put $5 on a flyer, because that's what a punk rock local show was at the time. And, and he taught me how to settle a show that night.
That's cool.
So you vaguely the same as it is now as, what we did then, only bigger numbers.
Did you have a little like notepad of phone numbers in your pocket all the time, like in a pen or something? Because back in the day, we had to memorize phone numbers. And do you remember?
God, I don't even remember.
It's weird.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It just took so much more work back then, which we didn't know because it was just the landscape. But I can't imagine the difference now with smartphones and employees.
I didn't get a cell phone until after I graduated high school. I got one graduating high school, then, so that would have been a year after I started doing shows. So
when did you graduate? Remember. Like
2001.
Yeah, I was 2000. So
yeah,
I got a little sliver phone or something when I was.
I had
like
whatever
21.
the cheapest Nokia one when I was.
That's what I had.
Yeah, when I. Yeah, I think it might have been a graduation present or something, but I got a cell phone when I left high school, so I wasn't using one. So I don't know how I did it.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Yeah.
Well, now, before we got on, even today, we were just chatting a little bit. It would have been a great podcast the first hour, but just thinking about how you are never off. Like we were talking about the difference between my job. The average person, we go to work, you do a certain thing, and then you're off, and it's like, whew. You live in a world of you are this guy that's all your friends, everything you do, everything you like doing involves this realm.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it is way more part of the lifestyle than, getting calls at night is, I always work nights, and I'm in an office all day, and then working nights or have someone else calling about a show, or if I go to another show, it's, there's not a venue I can walk into this town that I don't end up having a conversation about work in.
Yeah.
And it's kind of what makes it fun. It was like, but that also was like the start of it really was building. I was building the events I wanted to go to.
Yep.
And it was like, oh, I want to see these bands. I'm going to just book them. Yeah. I want to see these bands play together. I'm going to book that. It was creating my own sort of social, both role in social life or whatever. It was like, let's put the show together that we want to see. And some of the stuff we still do is like that, is like, let's, I always want to book bands we like, and always want to like, okay, how do we go create the events that I want to be at?
Yeah. What do you think the biggest difference is between how you see a show now? Like when you're, like you said, when you're standing at a show, you're not just standing, you're moving. But when you were young, what's the differences that you could even imagine seeing that are so, like when you were 19 at a show versus now? That the layers that you see?
Yeah, like I spend my time at shows a lot more watching the show, the whole, what's going on in the venue, what's going on at the bar, what's going on with security, what's going on stage, those things, because that's my state at a show, is worrying about all of that. So even when it's not my show and I'm not responsible for any of it, if I see security walking fast through a room, my eye's going to follow that. Mm-hmm. It's just what's going on over there, seeing something out of the corner of my eye. Whereas when I was a kid, I was like, oh, I'm watching the stage, totally. And no, it's not that I don't watch the stage now, but it's like, I'm thinking about, you just can't not, you can't not walk through and be like, why are they doing entry this way? Or why is, you see either mistake or the positives. You go, oh, that's an interesting way to do that. Like you can never not be seeing it that way.
What are some of the biggest things that bother you when you go to a show? Like if you go to Denver and you go see a really cool show at one of their venues that's, pretty awesome. Do you have things that like go, man, if only they would just do X or something? Does that kind of happen all the time where things are trickling in and you can't just turn that piece off, where you would want to make it better?
That's a really interesting question. Okay, so here's a funny one just to put of it. When Crescent Ballroom first opened and I used to work there, I would we would always sort of laugh that whenever Charley, the owner, walked in, he would always walk immediately over and play with the lights. He'd either dim them or lighten them or whatever. And at the time, I thought it was really funny. And then when we opened Rebel, I found that I was always doing that. Like every time I walked in the room, I'm like, why aren't the lights off? Why are they so bright? It's too bright. Oh, it's too dark. So thinking about some of those other aspects, it's between bands. Why is the house music too quiet or too loud? Or like, so some of it is like just those little, why hasn't someone shut the door to the lobby or whatever? Why is the patio, so thinking about those sort of little things that, and then like when I first opened Rebel and someone like pointed that out and I went, oh my God, I am Charley right now. But there were things that when Crescent opened, I didn't really think about as much. And then by the time Rebel opened is like, no, I am thinking about, it's the before the band starts. It's the after the band start. Why do they turn the lights on so fast? Why did, so some of those little things you think about that maybe someone at a show might not realize that like, oh, it's awkward in here because the background music is too quiet between bands. Oh, fuck, no one's having a good time because the background music is too loud during bands or something.
And I'm sure you've constantly, like when you travel and you go to other venues, you're like learning, oh, I need to pick a little bit of that up and implement that into my world.
Oh, absolutely. All the time. And I do travel for shows quite a lot. Definitely go to other festivals, other venues, and always like, I enjoy going to shows outside of Phoenix more because I can just be a guy at the show,
anonymous,
a little more anonymous. But then also going and seeing what everyone else is doing, and especially seeing what people are doing outside of Phoenix, and seeing, oh, they do that this way here or something.
Yeah, and then I'm always thinking like about technological progress and the exponential growth of you and I. We grew up in a world where we actually had very limited to some degree, and then the internet was born in our lifetime, which is fascinating. But we had the pre-internet, and now we've evolved with it, which allows us to sort of have that vantage point that a lot of people coming up that work for you and that play music and that go to shows don't have a clue about what that's like to not have a supercomputer in their pocket and access to all these shows. And you can look up which one you want to go to on a Thursday night. I'm like, where do I want to go? There's 13 options, or maybe more. For you to like find talent and book shows, can you talk a little bit about this happening that in this emergent technology and how it's affected you over the years?
I think about it a ton in that, when I was, I started doing shows right around the same time Napster started, 2000, I think Napster launched 2000. But when I first started booking shows, most local bands you could not find music on the internet,
right?
Like that was just sort of starting to happen. Most bands did not have websites, let alone social media, and so discovering music took a lot of effort. You had to like put effort into discovering, going deeper down. I remember even just like buying CDs and reading the thank yous, and it's like, oh
shit,
No Effects thanks Lagwagon. I need to think about check out Lagwagon or whatever it was.
Interesting.
And then, now, and then, went to college and suddenly had, high-speed internet for the first time. And when was the last time someone used the word high-speed internet, but at the time I was like, oh, wow, this isn't the dial-up in my parents' kitchen. And was just, I can just download everything. And, now any kid can do that in your hand. Like, I talk about it. I used to go to shows because I wanted to check out the band where I'd never heard them. And like no one would do that now because there's no way. It's like, man, I need to check that band out. I keep hearing their name. I keep seeing the shirt. I need to check it out. I know I'll buy a ticket to the show and go see a show where I haven't heard the music at all. No one would do that now. And that was something that was total. I did that all the time because I've heard this band's cool. They're coming to Modified. It's cheaper for me to go see them at Modified than it is to buy the CD in the store.
Right.
I can only buy so many CDs at the record store.
Right.
Oh, it's a band that's hard to find in the record store. Whereas now it's like, oh, if I told you about a band, you're going to go check them out on your phone before.
And there's no
tomorrow.
forums and Reddit and all that stuff.
Like message board was like the era then. And so And now it's totally different. That like, I think a lot about when we were in high school, if you said, what kind of music do you listen to? And they said, oh, well, I listen to a little bit of everything. You would have just immediately gone, man, this isn't a music fan.
Yeah.
Like any music fan would have a definitive answer to that, whatever it
yeah.
is. And now I think it's the exact opposite.
Sure.
If you don't say, oh, I like everything, that means you're not a music fan.
Right.
Because if you're a kid now and you have everything at your disposal, they're listening to everything, because I think when we were in school, you kind of had to pick a lane because that discovery was so time consuming. You couldn't discover every genre. You couldn't read every music magazine. You couldn't buy every new CD. So you kind of picked a lane of like, oh, I like punk rock. I'm just going to buy the new punk rock CDs. Or I'm going to buy the new metal CDs. I'm going to buy the new country CDs. Well, now these kids, I listened to my release radar on
Monday or whatever.
on Friday or Monday or whatever, and I can hear a little bit of everything that's out there.
Yeah.
And that wasn't really easy when we were around, and now kids are discovering a little bit of everything. And I think it's really good. Like,
it's awesome.
Yeah. And
it's like, what mood are you in? Oh, I can just go to a genre now, hit a radio station off one artist and just go down the rabbit hole and start building algorithmic playbacks and sharing music with friends. I love that on Spotify, where you can do a blend with someone you really like, and you're like, holy shit, we have like 32% match. And then you get exposed to all their music. And
like there's so many different ways you can discover stuff and different genres. Or there's a big trend going on right now or I don't know if trend's the right word, but you're seeing a lot of interest in older artists by younger kids who can discover it again.
Yeah.
And some of these older bands who are suddenly finding they have new fan bases out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's not like, they put out a new record and the new record caught on. It's kids discovering older music in a way that didn't. When we were a kid, it was like, I discovered Fleetwood Mac and I discovered Led Zeppelin, and we kind of discovered some of the obvious. Or when I got into punk rock, it was going back and listening to Minor Threat and Black Flag. But the way it's happening now is just totally different. That it can really, you're seeing bands that broke up 20 years ago who are bigger now than they ever were.
Yeah, that's totally
on weird
happening.
Word of mouth of kids spreading their music. And it's really interesting.
I've even seen that where bands I grew up loving are now getting so popular. If you go to like Lucky's on a Thursday night and you stay a little later than 5, 6 p.m., all of a sudden it's that music I grew up in, and all kids are like raging to it, like 22-year-old kids.
Yeah, there's something fun about the discovery that's going on right now.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And then what do you think some of the issues are with, like, also good things where an artist and you're trying to discover them, they have all these fans on YouTube or whatever, and they sort of blow up on the internet, but they've never done a live show. I'm sure that's weird.
Yeah. There's a big kind of problem with that coming out of COVID, of when TikTok sort of blew up and everyone in the business was trying to chase the next TikTok star, and just so many of them weren't ready for it. Like, I think there's a big problem of artists that, ironically, I think we need more gatekeepers, more of those traditional gatekeepers, because it is too easy for an artist to blow up out of nowhere and not be ready for it. And they don't know how to put on a live show. They don't know how to play in front of a new audience.
Right.
They
didn't work it out in the stages that they used to.
I always think when we're working with artists, is mantra that I always say is, you don't skip steps. You want an artist to go play the Rebel Lounge the first time, then play the Crescent, then play the Van Buren, then go to bigger things. Or, you play the Rebel, then you open for someone at Crescent, then you come back, and you want to sort of do those motions, because that's how you learn your craft. And it's really fascinating that an 18-year-old can throw a song on SoundCloud and then Spotify, and 2 months later, 1 billion people, it's being streamed 1 billion times, and there was no label and there was no management, and it all happened organically. But on the other hand, how does that 18-year-old learn how to be a great artist if that's thrown in front of you? And we've definitely seen lots of artists, and you see them and it's like one and done, because it's like, they weren't very good.
Yeah.
on the other hand, we've seen lots of artists where when that sort of viral moment hits, where they've been at their career for a while, and then it hits and you go see them and you go, holy shit, this was a great band, because they already were there. And there's a great band, TV Girl, I think about all the time on this, where they've been a band for like, I don't know, 10 years or something, totally DIY, booking their own stuff. We booked them at Trunk Space and we booked them at Rebel, and they were doing, selling out Trunk Space 100 tickets, selling out Rebel 300 tickets. And then it hit on TikTok and blew up. But when people went and saw them, they don't have one song. They've got a set. They're a great band. They already knew how to put on a live show. So when that viral moment happened, they were ready to, when kids came to discover them, I've got to go see that viral thing that all my friends are talking about. And then you went and see them and you go, holy shit, this band's great.
Yeah, they put the work in.
Because they had already done the work. And they actually just got announced. They're one of the main bands on a Just Like Heaven festival, just got announced today. Today. And, they're high on that bill now. And, but when that moment hit, they were ready for it.
Yeah.
They didn't have one good song. They had a catalog of great songs. They could put on a live show that had, they already knew, because they'd been playing for 7 or 8 years when it happened.
Yeah.
And
so
it's amazing.
How do you solve the gatekeeper? Like if you had a magic wand and you could see it in the ethers for all places, even all states, if you could just imagine what that looks like now with this new technology and people having more easy access, what do you think it looks like?
I don't know. Although I saw a great interview with Jelly Roll.
Okay.
And he was talking about this like exact same thing, because I don't know how much you know about Jelly Roll. It's kind of fascinating because he's the second oldest artist to be nominated for a Best New Artist Grammy.
Oh shit!
Ever, because
I didn't know that.
He was so far into his career and old when it like actually happened for him.
How old is he? Like
he's like our age, like 40s or something, or
so he
something
got
like
famous
that.
Way late.
Yeah, he's got a long story, and was in jail, and but he didn't have any success in the music business until he was fully an adult. But he was talking about how you get these, agents and when you get that moment and it starts, and you get all these agents and managers coming to you, and they're all promising you how big they can help make you. And I'm going to get you into the biggest rooms. I'm going to get you in the biggest ones. And then someone else is going to come say, no, let's go put you in some clubs first. Let's go get you on the road.
Yeah.
Well, that's the guy you want to listen to. The guy that's telling you, we'll go put you in the biggest rooms we can. How do we maximize the money today? But if you're that artist, how do you like step on the brakes? How do you not go with the person that's promising you the most, or take a step back and go, oh, I'm not ready for that yet.
Yeah.
And that's
hard.
If
you want to pay your rent.
And especially, and you're 19 and someone's like, oh, we're going to put you in a van and go make you play a bunch of small clubs and let's build it. And someone else says, no, you're ready. You're the next big thing. And all those people in the artists who represent artists, they might be thinking like, oh man, I'm going to go take a chance on this, and he's either the next big thing or I drop him. And, and so I don't know how you fix that sort of problem, because if it can blow up that fast, there's going to be someone saying, let's go maximize it right now.
Yeah.
And that might not be the best strategy,
Right. Yeah, not long-term thinking and actually caring about the best of that band's interest or those people's interest. And
I remember talking to a big talent agency, talent agent not that long ago, and super legit agent, big agency, books a lot of great artists. And he was saying his thing used to be, when he signed an artist, he had to be really committed, because he always promised himself, and he would promise the artists, I'm going to give you 3 albums. We're going to work together for 3 albums. And if by the end of the 3rd album it's not working, we did our best. That's 5 or 6 years. And so he saw it as, if he was signing a new band, he had to believe in it, because he was committing the next 5 years, not knowing whether he was going to make any, really invest his time.
Yeah.
And he said now his mantra is he gives you one tour.
Oh, shit.
And it doesn't mean that it has to work at that one tour, but it's got to see the legs. It's got to see the momentum.
Yeah.
Because these agents have to jump in so early, because you can discover these artists so fast that the agents have to be like, oh, well, I think there's something there, so I better sign it before someone else does.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to find these things as they're perking, and everyone's afraid that they're going to miss out on the next Billie Eilish or the next Tyler, the Creator. So they're jumping on these artists earlier and earlier. So instead of saying, no, man, you need to work a little bit, let's talk in 6 months, they're saying, I better sign you today. And that's a reality to the market of that someone else isn't going to say, they need 6 more months.
Yeah.
They need another year. They need another demo. Someone else is going to jump in and say, you're ready.
Yeah.
And that someone who jumps in and says you're ready may not be the one who's got your long-term interests in mind. They got well, if it works, awesome.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, I'll drop you in 6 months and who cares?
Yeah.
And I think
I'm sure you've made a lot of mistakes too and learned from it over the years. And so now you have this, intuition that's developed where, like, what is your artist discovery process like? Like, how does it work for you versus somebody that hops in and thinks they can somewhat do what you're doing in the beginning or the lessons you've learned over the years?
I was from the beginning was a big believer in book what you know. I always wanted to book artists I knew and understood or was a fan of. And, after 25 years, the number of artists I know is just, the genres I'm comfortable booking, the artists I understand is a lot broader than it was back then. We now do drag shows. We now do country. We now do death metal. All sorts of genres that I didn't do when I started. But a lot of it is just organic of people sending me music. A lot of it is artist teams. It's managers and agents reaching out and saying, I got a new band. And a lot of new bands I'm hearing because the teams they work with are teams we work with. And they say, hey, I just signed this new band. You should check them out. And, that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
Is just the teams that we work with.
Yeah.
And then the other half is just totally organically, like anybody else said, of being at Gracie's and someone saying, hey, did you check out this band? And, oh, no, I didn't. Oh, yeah, I'll go check them out because someone told me to, you know, so
interesting.
Not totally unlike anybody else.
Yeah.
And then we get to take chances on stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure you've had some times where you took big risks and failed, and then had to learn big
all
time.
the time.
Yeah,
we lose money on shows all the time.
Yeah,
it is every single show is another bet. It's another gamble. And
how do you find all these relationships to be foundational? Like when you keep growing and you keep delegating, and all of a sudden you've got, all these employees. How do you vet these people and build this team to all be delegated and have that trust?
Are we talking about my team specifically, or employees?
Even your employees, your team, like your thing, your machine.
Well, one, we've grown incredibly slowly, so it's always, what is the next role? We now think about it a little differently in that we really are thinking about roles. Okay, we need a new box office manager. Okay, let's interview someone for that, or marketing, or design, or running shows. Like, first couple employees I had, it was just sort of everyone did a little bit of everything. And now, it is much more specialized like any other company. But no, it's finding good people and training, finding good people and training them and, working together and trying to make sure everyone's on the same page of how we want to be doing things.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I mean, you have like a little ecosystem there, and it's a living thing, and it's constantly evolving and butting up against new emergent technologies, and so it's got to be interesting for you all the time.
Yeah, and it's definitely keeps me young in some sense of, we're seeing we're looking at culture and new trends and what's the new thing all the time, what's bubbling up before anyone else sees it.
I heard you, I didn't know this to the degree that I heard you speak about it. I sort of abstractly during COVID, the Save Your Stages thing. And I knew it was a big deal, but Brian Chartrand, I've seen him play at the Womack quite a bit. So when I was looking up to listen to you and hear a little bit more to prep for this, I got to like hear some in depth on the COVID thing, and I was like, holy shit, dude, you and a bunch of really cool people did some cool work during that. Do you mind brushing over that a little bit? Because that was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, we could easily spend the next 6 podcasts just talking about 2020.
Yeah.
But so our industry was the first industry affected by COVID. We were the first to close, and we were the last to reopen. The entire business is putting people together in cramped rooms.
Right.
And so I definitely started noticing COVID way before any other business owners I knew did. And when we shut down, it's like, well, we're completely closed. There's no switching to takeout. There's no going online. We're just closed.
Yeah.
And so myself and a ton of other venues across the country realized immediately no one else was thinking about us. At the time when every news article about events was talking about Coachella and the NBA, and it was like, well, the NBA will be fine. And it's like, yeah, well, we won't.
Right.
And so a bunch of us got together and started a thing called the National Independent Venue Association. I ended up being one of the original board members. There were 5 of us on the board. I was vice president. And we rallied 3,000 members to the association, which were all venues, promoters, or festivals.
Across the nation.
Across the nation. It took us 1 week to get members in all 50 states.
Is that through emails and just phone calls?
Emails and Zoom. Oh my God, the number of Zooms. So there's this there's this initiative, Independent Venue Week, and they threw out a call before everything shut down to talk about what was going on. And they had a bunch of the venues in Austin who had just seen South by collapse. So they started this weekly Zoom. The first week there was like 100 of us on it. The second week there was like 200 of us on it. And the third week there was like 1,000 of us on it.
Damn. And
after like 3 or 4 weeks, we realized, dude, no one is thinking about us as far as how are we going to survive.
Wow.
And so we started this association, and the goal of the association from day one was to get federal relief for independent venues and promoters in the ground that we're shut down to protect the public good. The public should protect us.
Yeah.
So we started lobbying, and it's funny. We hired a big lobbying firm right out the gate. That was the goal, because we knew it had to be federal. It had to be national. And we hired this big lobbying firm in DC, one of the biggest. And one of the first things they said is, you're a new organization. No one knows who you are. You're never going to get your own bill. And this was after, remember there was the Paycheck Protection Program, PPP, that was incredibly badly designed for venues.
Okay.
Because we were totally closed down, and that you had to spend 70% on your employees.
Right.
Well, we're not open.
Right.
So all the expenses we have
are wiped. Or
didn't really work.
Yeah.
Like PPP was really badly designed for us.
Yeah.
And then, so our first push was to try and, okay, there's going to be a second round of stimulus. We need to make sure that stimulus makes more sense for us, and why PPP did not work for us. And we started pushing for that. And then after a while, it was just sort of clear the kind of bills we were talking about were just going to be too expensive. Like if you applied the metric to everybody, it just was not feasible. And so Senator John Cornyn from Texas came to us through our lobbyists and said, look, these bills that you're pushing, none of them are ever going to pass. We need to do one that's targeted and specific for you.
Got
it. Because none of these are going to make sense, but we need to get you more aid than any of these bills are going to do.
Mm-hmm.
We said it needs to be bipartisan. He said, absolutely, this needs to pass. So we got Amy Klobuchar on board, the two of them.
Wow.
And pushed this bill to Save Our Stages Act. And we spent all year lobbying, doing all sorts of raising awareness. And the end of 2020, the Save Our Stages Act passed.
How the heck did you get that to happen with the political divide and how things were with that? And
do you know how hard keeping a political movement nonpartisan in 2020 was?
Yeah, exactly.
And we were getting pulled in every different direction. Everyone thought it should be their bill. And that was our mantras. We knew that the bill had to get signed by Donald Trump. You know, he was president. He was going to sign whatever this aid bill was. And we knew it had to stay nonpartisan, and fighting to keep a political movement and nonpartisan in 2020 was incredibly difficult.
And you guys just start brainstorming ways to just
how do we
maneuver these letters and emails.
Yeah, it was lots of outreach and we were literally trying to figure out what people's musical tastes were, to like what musicians can we get them. Senator Kennedy from Louisiana, we set up a call with him and Meatloaf. I wasn't on that call, but I've heard crazy stories about how wild, because we found out Senator Kennedy was a huge Meatloaf fan, and then turns out Meatloaf is a Senator.
You guys were just researching who these people were like fans of. Literally some of. Marco Rubio is a Pitbull fan, so somehow we got Marco Rubio on a call with Pitbull. That's cool.
Just all these different artists, and we managed to keep it nonpartisan. And one of the things was, unlike a lot of movements, we're in every music venues are in every major city in America. We used to talk a lot about this is about Broadway in Nashville as much as it is at Broadway in New York.
Sure.
There's honky tonks in Texas that mattered to Republicans, and there's art venues in San Francisco that matter there. And one of the interesting ones is like the elected officials, they may not know all of us, but they knew the venues in their city. And there's early on, there was a call, I wasn't on it, but I forget where it was like Wisconsin or something. And there was a particularly MAGA congressman that our lobbyist was trying to get us. We need to get venues in this district to talk to this congressman. And they're like, well, why are we going to talk? This guy's never going to be supportive, whatever. And they get on a call with his chief of staff to sort of set up this call. And it's this little tiny punk rock venue on this call with this, very Republican congressman, this chief of staff.
Yeah.
The chief of staff went, oh, I know your venue. Like when they were introducing all the venues, and it got to this like little tiny punk rock one. And this chief of staff was like, oh, I love your venue. I have a shirt of your venue. That's what I wear in the congressional gym every morning.
Nice.
Because his son's band used to play it. It's like I used to go to your venue to see my son's band when he was in high school.
That's cool.
Used to play there, and was immediately like, how can I help?
Wow.
And they got off the call and were like, that was so much more positive than we thought.
Yeah.
And it just was able to connect with everybody, and we just kept this movement, and we knew it had to stay that way. And so it was just the mantra was we have one objective, and that was the just single focused.
That had to be so hard. And then music.
It was so stressful.
Music's the best connector of all the arts, I feel like. In some way, I feel like it gets rid of the left, right, blue, red, all that. I mean, people have their genres and stuff. But like you said, dads have sons and daughters. And in the household, there's music connects people, Well,
and that was the one. Like, we were able to get the honky tonks in Texas to talk to their congressman, and some of these art theaters in small, especially a lot of the rural Congress people who represented rural areas realized some of these venues, how important they were to their communities.
Right.
And so it really was that very grassroots. Mr. Smith went to Washington, and they realized like, oh, you guys are a different case.
That's why.
And it was largest public funding of the arts in U.S. history. We got a bill that ended up being $16 billion of aid relief.
That's incredible.
For a group that didn't exist pre-pandemic and never had been categorized in a different way. And
how did you delegate the funds? Like decide on how that worked?
It was built into the law. We didn't. That was our one, is that it had to be objective. And so this was not arts grants, that it was show us your P&L. So it was run as a program through the SBA, Small Business Association. interesting one. It was the first time funds had ever flown through the SBA to municipally owned organizations. Because from the very beginning, we went, I remember there's nonprofit members, there's city-run venues that matter, there's for-profit. We immediately, like, tax status can't matter. It's got to be, what do you do? And
Right.
you host performances. And so there was a criteria that actually was based, I was head of membership for NEVA, so we wrote the membership rules of NEVA, and at the time it was like, this needs to be very specific. Who are we talking about exactly?
Mm-hmm.
And those membership rules loosely got turned into the funding criteria for the act. And then there was some of the Broadway theaters didn't really like it, so there was a separate category because our definitions didn't really include things like ballet and orchestra enough, so we had to add some different category. I mean, all this being how you get a bill. And then it was a grant program through the SBA.
Damn.
And it was very,
Dude, that's amazing. And it's in place for, God forbid, something happens in the future. You guys have built the framework to have that connection and the funding. And
crazy one was, like, when we were doing this, our lobbyists were like, we need an ask that is big enough, but not too big that it doesn't get, but know that we probably can't get more money. Like, what the ask is needs to cover it. And Justin, who was on our board, was doing all the data. His projection that we did in early 2020 of how big the market was ended up being ridiculously on board. Like,
wow.
The other, like, just mind-blowing thing, it was a perfectly funded government program.
Damn.
You
never hear that.
Never. Everyone who needed it got it, and there was only a little bit left. It was like the perfect amount left over.
Yeah.
I forget. It was something like 5% left over or something. And it was us literally, I remember I was working, Justin Cantor really did all the work on trying to figure out exactly how big the market was of venues and promoters and whatever. And, ended up in the bill. Our guess was it was between 4,000 and 5,000 businesses that would apply. No, wait. His guess was that it was between 4,500 and 5,000 businesses that would apply, and it ended up being just over 4,700 businesses qualified.
That's
and
crazy.
So it was so ridiculous. It's like,
that's a miracle, man.
Perfectly nonpartisan bill that passed in 2020 that was perfectly funded.
That's so cool.
It's just like, you never hear that.
It's cool you guys all pulled together and were able to do something like that.
Yeah.
It gives people hope in other industries too, not just music, but just to see the power of, like, relationships. And I'm sure that's what it is.
That was the one, is we were in every major city, and none of us were particularly well connected, but we were all connected with our sort of leaders or people, or, I know Greg Stanton from when he was mayor, and there were quite a lot of people who were like, oh, they're congressmen. That used to be my mayor.
Right.
And, and so we were able to actually, go and hit people in every city in America. And
it's nuts.
Yeah, you add up. We only need one of us in every city to know somebody, and that added up.
And it would have been impossible to do before the internet again. It's one of those things.
I don't know how you would have, because we were just on Zoom after Zoom after Zoom.
Yeah, and then you have group chats. And it's like the technology gives me hope for the circumstances that we're seeing in the world, because we're seeing a weird thing happening where it's going off the rails and there's a lot of problems. But you're also like, but we've never had this weird wild card in history where people like the grassroots movements could all connect and do something. You guys did something that shows an example of that. It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, it's really interesting because what we did was very textbook how it's supposed to work and how it used to work, and we rallied people in all our cities and rallied, went very grassroots of reaching our elected leaders and making the case and convincing elected leaders that this made sense. And then you look at so many other things that just don't seem to work that way. I think one thing that really helped us was because we were a brand new group, we had no baggage. There was no
drama.
There was no
infighting.
Well, there's no partisan baggage. There was no.
Okay.
We were able to be nonpartisan because we didn't have a history as an organization with anyone. There was no. There was no
division there.
Division, or it was framed in that way, and it wasn't like the battles of 10 past battles, you know. And so, yeah, it was a very interesting.
Yeah, that's crazy. I have a curiosity. I'm seeing your hat, the format. Did you put that show where they did the candle lit, like little intimate show at the Modified Arts way back in the day? Do you remember those?
But I was probably at that one.
Yeah, those are cool.
Yeah, no,
it's like just acoustic and candles and just chilling at that little spot.
Yeah, and I used to work when I was 18, intern for Sam Means from the Format, was a concert promoter here.
Okay.
And so I had interned for him, and then shortly after I interned for him is when they started the Format. So I was at their very first show and had seen their bands before that, and that was one of the first where I got to like watch it from the ground. Like, I didn't really ever work with them at the time because they were way ahead of me. I was not doing the show when they were started playing. They were playing with the more established promoters at the time, but it was like the first time getting to watch it and watch that, you know, literally from having heard the music before they released anything, and then seeing the first show, and then seeing them sign, and then seeing them get an agent, and then seeing, like, they were the first that I got to watch that firsthand or next to them. And still work with Sam all the time because he owns a Hello Merch merch company downtown, and he's done our online stores for years. And so, yeah, I was very excited to see the Format back together.
That's awesome. Yeah, they're amazing.
Yeah, they're a great band.
Cool band. Yeah, and I'm sure you've seen so many people go from just starting in a little room like that to like, boom, they're famous. And they're
unfortunately more the opposite where it doesn't do that, but we've seen definitely plenty of those where they do. Yeah. So it's fun.
Yeah, that's cool. And I know you were talking about throwing a festival, your first one, because we were talking about Firefly. And
Firefest.
I don't know why I call it Firefly. But I watched that documentary from the outside looking in as just a shit show. And you were telling me a story about how it was coming out the week before. Can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, cool. So we did our second festival with, there's this band, the Maine, from here. I helped produce their festival, 8123 Fest. 8123 is their label. And so we do this artist curated festival. And the first time we did it at Crescent Ballroom, we did it in the parking lot. For my role as producing it, was much more like just at a venue. Crescent kind of handled a lot of logistics. And then the second year we sold out the first year at Crescent. So the next year we moved it up to a park, did Civic Space Park in downtown Phoenix.
Cool.
And then we did our after parties at Crescent. So it's still connected, but, and the week of that festival, we were on site, and those two documentaries on Firefest dropped, and all anyone wanted, that was all the memes were online, and everyone was talking about it, and all these articles and all these tidbits and TMZ and all that stuff. And all anyone wanted to talk about was this disastrous festival that never happened. And I'm on the ground for the first time really producing something of that, not quite the same scale what that was supposed to be, but where we're worrying about all the infrastructure, fencing, porta potties, staging, and we're on site and everyone just wants to talk about festival. And it was like, I'm working 15 hours a day, 12, 15 hours a day trying to get this festival built and to play out this weekend. The last thing I want to do is talk about ways in which festivals failed. It was like the worst mojo. And then that Monday after the festival was like the first day in like 3 weeks I hadn't worked nonstop, did nothing. The festival's great. Our festival's great. Huge thing. And then, so I watched those two documentaries and it was kind of cathartic. And then the next day was talking to Tim from 8123, my partner in the festival. And I was like, oh, what'd you do yesterday? And I was like, oh, I did nothing, but I did watch those. And he was like, me too. And then we just like sort of talked about them, and it was like, was able to, but it was just such a weird timing of like, I'm 4 days away from the like first festival that I've produced.
Can't give your attention.
And that's all anyone on the internet wants to talk about.
That's funny.
And it was just like, no, I do not want to talk about failed festivals this week.
Right. Yeah. And you throw festivals now. Do you enjoy doing the process of creating these spaces?
It's a mixed bag because there's a lot of stress of all the things that you don't think about, thinking about security, thinking about logistics, thinking about insurance and all the things that make it work. And then on the other hand, curating these things and talking about them is some of the most fun of like thinking about what should the order be. And, like most of the shows we book, the artists are coming to us with a package.
Yeah.
We're going on tour. These are the bands we're bringing. And it's like, great. Yeah, let's book it. Cool.
Yeah.
But like with the festivals, that curation piece is really fun.
Yeah.
Like that's what, like trying to think what goes with what, but in an interesting way. What's a good pairing? What's keeping the right balance? Making sure there's enough diversity, both in every way, from both identity and musicians to sounds to, experience to, audiences, what audiences are compatible. Like that's really fun.
Yeah.
That's the fun part of
creating.
And I also love that those are ones where it's like, oh no, I get the most fun part is the very bottom of the bill where it's like, oh, I get to put this band on something that they're excited about.
Yeah.
Like the top of the bill, like that's work and negotiation and you got to really think about the math. Like those spots on the bottom of the bill,
they're just
that just gets to be fun.
Yeah.
I'm going to book a small band that's, not worth a lot of tickets and pay them a small amount. Yeah, I just get to pick who I want on those slots.
And they're pumped. Fun. They're like grateful and
hungry. They're at that point of, oh, this is our first real festival or local band who's getting to do something. And like that's where it's the most fun.
I bet. Yeah, and then when you actually you create the festival and you're there, how is it when you experience it? You're so busy, I'm sure, but you're also enjoying what you created at the same time?
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
You're running around and dealing, putting out fires or dealing with whatever. I always think at shows, if I seem stressed out and people are asking me what's wrong, then everything's fine.
Okay.
If you don't know what I'm stressed out about, then great, go have fun. But if you see me stressed out and you don't have to ask me what I'm stressed out about because you see it, well, then it's a problem because now it's impacting you, right?
Yeah.
Like if you know what the issue is, if no one else knows what's going on backstage or what drama's going, then that's the way it's supposed to be.
That's interesting.
Yeah. You shouldn't know what's going on backstage, but if you look and go like, "Oh, I know what Steve's stressed about."
Yeah.
Well, then there's a problem because you realize,
Yeah, it's cool because I've gone to shows for my whole life. If I'm out past 9 p.m., I'm at something live music, but I've never seen the layers that you've seen. So when I'm there, I'm still engaged with the music, which is cool. But you're seeing thousands of different layers, and it's just fascinating,
Yeah, and some of it's really fun and some of it is the work. And, when I realized like when I'm at a festival that's mine, I'm there working. I'm not there at a festival. I'm not there having fun. I'm there at work.
Yeah, you're making the machine happen.
And hopefully it's both.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's fascinating. Yeah, so like when you traveled, you were saying like sometimes you do get to turn off. Like if you're out of the country and you're not at something musically oriented, and that probably feels good, but at the same time you're still sort of creating and dealing with phone calls and
being a small business owner, you're never really off.
Yeah.
I always need at least some level of on, and a lot of my travel does end up being work related. I try to go to several festivals a year outside of Phoenix, and right now, interesting, it's one of the first years I did not go to South by Southwest. Normally I'd be there right now.
Yeah.
But I always try to go to a couple different festivals, and they can be really fun, but they're always some level of work to them too. But then again, my work is I get to go.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, wow, I'm at Lollapalooza. That my work's hard.
Yeah. What are some of the things that you failed pretty badly on and you're like, damn, I blew it, and you learned some good lessons? Do you remember any specifics?
Oh man, early on that was all, it was all learning by trial, by error and failing. I was telling the story the other day about last time I really drank at one of my shows, which was years ago, long before Rebel existed, and was having too much drink, and then had to settle with the artist at the end of the night, and it was oh yeah, that's not my role here.
Yeah.
We got a friend of mine's, an artist who was a friend who was a big at the time. It's now the kind of show that would be like, oh yeah, that's Tuesday for me. But at the time, it was like a big deal show. And the artist's wife was the tour manager. And at the end of the night, got a lecture of like, yeah, I know we're all friends, but like, your job here is to take care of us, and you're, having too much fun. And it's a way longer story, but it was just like this wake up of like, oh yeah, like this isn't my party. I'm hosting the party.
Yeah, you're responsible to some degree.
Luckily, nothing went wrong at that one. It was just a little, I realized like, oh yeah, that's not my role here. My role here is not.
So you really don't drink much when you're at your shows? Not
my shows, yeah, no. Yeah. I mean, I'll have a beer or something, but not, it's rare I, drink at a show that's one of mine.
Yeah.
More than I'll have a beer or something. Like, I'm not saying I won't drink anything, but I'm not drinking. I'm not getting drunk at any of my shows.
Yeah.
Occasionally a Rebel or something, but that's even rare.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that fire incident? That seemed like a pretty wild story for you.
Well, I feel I need to talk to the firefighter about a fire incident.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah, no, it's now 10 years. It's more than 10 years ago now. Yeah. Talk about learning. Yeah, so I was actually out of town. Rebel had been open about 6 months, and I was actually out of town for a conference, and I was staying with a friend outside of San Francisco or in the Bay Area. And coincidentally, I already had a flight the next morning, 7 a.m. flight the next morning already. It was Saturday night, and I get a call from the alarm company. Do you know why the sprinklers are going off at Rebel? And I go, try to log in, and I go, no, I don't. Do whatever you're supposed to do when the sprinklers go off.
Sure.
And there'd been some drama with our cameras weren't work. Like, I couldn't pull up our cameras on my laptop they'd been broken. We hadn't fixed it. So that was one, like, get that fixed right away. But then I'm calling my staff and no one's answering because they're dealing with a fire in the building.
God.
So of course no one's answering me at that moment. They're all dealing with it.
This is like a nighttime show, right? Like 9 p.m. or something.
This is 10 o'clock at night on a Saturday or something. The headliner was going on, and what happened? The singer of the band jumped off stage, cleared an area in front of the stage, and threw rubbing alcohol on the ground and lit it on fire. And the whole crowd's currying. My staff couldn't really see because they're seeing through a crowd.
Right.
The flames, we've now watched video of it. The flames are all 6 inches high or whatever. And then he just squeezes this bottle of rubbing alcohol, and a flame goes all the way up to the ceiling, hits the sprinklers, and the fire is out 3 seconds later.
Yeah. But the sprinklers are still ripping.
The sprinklers went off for like, it was only one head went off. Only the one sprinkler head went off.
Okay.
And they went off flooding the building for the next 45 minutes or so.
Shit.
Yeah.
And so
luckily no one got hurt in the fire.
Major headlines in the newspaper or whatever.
Yeah, it was fun. It was funny. It was not fun to deal with at the time. So this happened on a Saturday night. I fly back Sunday morning. Coincidentally, I already had the next flight available because there's no more flights at night, and I had the first flight out in the morning. So at least I was coming home as quickly as possible.
Right.
Got off the plane, went straight to Rebel, and dealing with all the fire damage. Sunday, nothing happens. Nothing hit online. And then Monday afternoon, some video that some fan had posted online somewhere went crazy viral, and there's a ton of news articles. And of course, media being what media is, there's this 30-second bad camera phone of the crowd, and you just see this flame. You can't even tell what's really going on. And all the headlines were like, fire in a Valley music venue.
Jeez.
Detail,
headlines.
Don't know if anyone was hurt or not. And it was like, no one was hurt. Like, people got wet.
Yeah.
One person complaining about their phone got ruined. Like, that was the extent of that. And the rest was damage to our venue. But, like, no one got hurt. But the first couple stories were all about that. We're like, just the most sensational details emerging, like
Yeah.
unclear if anyone's heard. And then the next, I was telling you, I get a call. I'm down there at the venue, and these first couple news stories had just broke, and we're, on the phone with my lawyer, and like, what statement are we putting out? And we were working on trying to put out some statement, and I get a call, and it was one of the fire chiefs who was, I forget what the exact title was, but head of public relations or something, community public relations, something, says, asked if it was me. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, are you at Rebel right now? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I'm on my way. Stay there. Don't leave. Call my business partner who had like literally like just left Rebel and tell him what's going on. So we were there. And then fire chief in full dress uniform walks in, and he's like, okay, tell me what happened. Walk me through it.
Yeah.
We showed him all the videos, showed him where it happened. And he's like, all right, I need to talk to the press. You don't. If you're fine with it, I'll take it.
Yeah.
And then the next, version of the story was, fire department's calling it a success story, and
Cool.
This is no one was hurt, and this is why fire safe, and the story was about, we had added fire sprinklers voluntarily. We didn't have to.
Yeah.
But we knew we needed to, and best investment ever.
Yeah.
And no one got hurt, and the story just sort of like flipped over, immediately to like Phoenix is calling it a success story. And,
That's great.
We were closed for 5 days, I think, or something, until we could get everything repaired and, inspected and back open. And that was not a very fun 5 days.
Yeah.
And then the band, it was also one where we were like trying to think about what statement to put out, and I didn't really realize it, because I'm in the moment. I'm like dealing with contractors, dealing with the fire department, dealing with police in there, dealing with our lawyer, dealing with insurance and everything. And then meanwhile, the band had gone online and was just, who started the fire, and was just talking shit and being, people were trolling them and calling them out of, why aren't you apologizing? And they were being incredibly rude and dumb. And then so it was like, okay, well, this looks good, because if it's my word, if it's their word, and they're claiming that we knew all about them playing with fire. And I was like, when I booked the band, I had talked to him and was like, I saw you at Warped Tour 15 years ago. Well, that's not telling them that I was like, knew they played with fire and were irresponsible. It turns out they had done that to a number of other venues that didn't make the news.
Yeah.
And
I just had a thread come in. I don't know who told me. Maybe someone that I knew at the bar was saying that I was going to talk to you, and they said, ask him about, maybe you told me. A thread's coming in about a band that played at Rebel, and on the way home, there was a horrible accident. Is that something too vulnerable to speak about?
Oh, no, but it's the least fun.
You don't have to. I just thought of it, but I'm like, someone told me a brief moment of that.
Yeah, it's this band called Hers.
Okay.
They're from England, super buzzy, really cool bedroom pop band. They were on their first U.S. tour ever. We were sold out. They were selling out shows. They're selling out the small clubs, but they were selling out shows.
It almost sounds familiar to me too, the band, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, there's a big R&B singer called Her.
Oh, maybe that's what I'm thinking. I don't know.
Now, but this band was called Hers. It was two guys, and they had a great show at Rebel. Talked to them after the show, and they got a wrong way driver on I-10 around Quartz hit them, and everyone died instantaneously.
That's horrible.
And
that's what it was.
It's really a tragic story. That band had so much potential and passed away. And then turns out their tour manager and sound guy was a sound guy in First Avenue, in the venue in Minneapolis, and I'm good friends with that whole team. So I had just a ton of mutual friends with, the tour manager who was driving, and someone was driving down I-10 going full speed wrong way with no headlights on it.
God. It's like
4 a.m. And it was super tragic.
Wow. When was that? It's a long
I want to
time
say
ago.
2019.
Oh, wow, before COVID. Damn.
It was like right before
That's
COVID.
Horrible, man.
It's super tragic.
Yeah.
And the band, super young guys. I don't know what they were, 23-year-old guys from England.
Yeah.
On their first U.S. tour. And
that's horrible.
Yeah.
I don't know what brought that into my awareness, but I was like, I should ask you, but yeah, sorry to bring up
Yeah,
the
I mean,
blues of that's
that's
life,
the worst. That's the worst of it, and they're
Yeah.
just, you know,
What can you do,
yeah,
man? Yeah, fascinating.
they just were driving down I-10 at 4 a.m, having left the show.
That's
So
terrible.
yeah, it's really tragic. The really weird serendipity one, our friend Justin Yee, who's a local DJ and photographer, he was there at the show and taking photos and was talking to them right as they were about to get in the van, all packed up.
Okay.
And said, "Hey, do you mind if I take a couple photos of you guys?
Oh, wow.
I'll send them to you." And they're like, "Yeah, of course." And so they went next to Kat's, the bar that used to be next door to us. And he just took a couple of really candid post photos, and one they're hugging each other.
Oh, wow.
And they took those photos, they got in the van, and his last photos out of them. And it's
do you have those
kind of
photos up anywhere?
if you Google them, it's like one of the main photos that comes up, because that photo ended up getting used in a lot of places. And
Jeez.
we have it framed. There's a framed one in our office somewhere.
Yeah.
But that's one of the tragic ends of the the worst ends of this.
Yeah, I'm sure there's even, I never thought of this till now, but not that they were, but people that drink and drive and things that happen after shows or during shows, and you're like, fuck, that sucks that hopefully it never happens with yours, but I'm sure things happen.
Yeah, knock on wood, hopefully not. And just coincidence that their last show was here in Phoenix. God. And super tragic.
Yeah, that's a terrible one.
And they're just starting to catch on, had a really promising career, and it was over in a minute. That's one where you realize, like, this is a
flash in the pan.
And then the opposite end, the number of weddings I've gone to for artists that are friends, and being on the other side, that's the sad moments, but also the the opposite end, where it's the best moments, when you're at people's weddings or life events, or a lot of artists we work with become legitimately great friends. And getting to, share those moments those are the exciting parts.
Yeah. What is it that you think about the nature of consciousness and death? I'm curious, because we've talked deeply about nothing to do with music a couple times. And when it comes to just like thinking about the nature of death, what is it that you think about it?
I don't know. That's such a deep one. I think we don't know. If we what happens afterwards, I think we don't know.
I'm in that boat too.
It's
a good boat to be in.
Yeah,
the truth, you mean?
Yeah, how can anyone possibly fucking know that?
I love that. Oh, you mean the truth? The truth is that we don't know, but
yeah,
I was curious, how you felt about it, and that seems to be where you're at.
Yeah, I think it's views definitely change as the older you get, and the
closer you get,
at
least it looks like
it's I don't have really strong things on that.
Yeah, do you think it drives, what do you think about what drives you on this planet, as far as any kind of existential driver, or do you just think that I enjoy, tell me a little bit about what drives you?
What I do, I do like the moments when realize that it's something bigger than what we're working on. And, it's like we get to play this tiny part in artist careers, and, as a promoter, are not as involved as maybe the producers they work with, or the managers or agents or the labels. We're sort of a little removed. So it's not like a lot of these artists, it's not like you can take a ton of credit for their success.
Yeah.
But then the other ones where you get to just have some piece of that, and the audience, and realizing seeing an artist and seeing thousands of fans who love that artist, and those moments are special to them. And then realizing a few degrees away, we helped create that magic moment for somebody else, that person who came to that show, and that show was the most magical moment for them. And who knows what that takes off? Who knows what that leads to? Or, couples that have met at our shows because they met at their favorite band show or something.
That's
cool. And realizing that there's all these positives that we don't even that I don't even see. And I'm a big believer in other thing we were talking about, just in real life events. Like the things that happen in real life are the things that matter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's so much attention online, and there's so much, talk about social media or AI or all these other things. And it's like, what happens in real life is what matters. And, we get to play a fun little part in that. And, who knows what, I now talk to musicians where they go, oh, the first show I ever went to was a Psyko Steve show. And it was like, oh, that's so weird.
That's rad.
It's on, or like, oh, wait, this show that was magical to you was something that we put together.
Yeah.
It was fun.
And in the future, I can see, we were talking earlier, like bringing people together, the newer generation coming up, there's a lot of need for it and desire for it. Hopefully more than not, because kids are getting more and more swept into this, like DoorDash, like we were saying, and spending more time. You ran a stat off at like how much less people do versus what we used to do.
There was a study recently that said that the average American has 50% less social activities than they did 20 years ago. 50% less.
That's crazy.
That's everything from happy hours after work to kids' sports to dates to dinner parties, anything that's outside of your immediate family and work. We're doing 50% less of that. And I think that's, absolutely terrible. I think people are finally starting to talk about it more. Although one is thinking about all your great books here. Do you remember there was a book called Bowling Alone?
No, I've actually never heard of it.
Yeah, Bowling Alone, probably one of the most interesting sort of social political books. Came out like late 90s or something. And I remember reading it then but it was talking about this 20 years ago, about the failing of sort of social, how there's less civic or, formal organizations. People go to church less on Sunday. The sort of weekly bowling leagues that existed in the 50s, and how these sort of formal
gathering
social things are less and less in American life. And I think this leads in part to the polarization. It leads to a lot of isolation, male loneliness, the
online
the
dating,
scrolling,
porn.
Yeah, all those things. It's
Netflix, the whole thing.
All of it. And it's those things are bad replications of real life, and it's that little tiny dopamine hit you get scrolling is nowhere near the sustainable friend. That's not friendships. The number of friends people say they have is dramatically down.
Yeah.
The people say they have less friends than they did 15 years ago. And I think there's huge negatives on all of that. There was a post last year at Coachella that went crazy viral, and just one of those, you just roll your eyes. And it was about this girl, and it was, some TikTok or whatever, talking about how her boyfriend proposed at Coachella, and she tried to text message her girls' group chat. And because of the cell phones, not, it's just big, huge event, the messages weren't going through. She had to wait an hour to tell her friends in person, her friends who were at Coachella with her. And then realizing how much better the experience was because she got to tell them in person.
Yeah.
Because she waited an hour, and then she got to have the moment of screaming and like, oh my God. But like, she was talking about it, how it was this giant revelation of, oh my God, this was so much better. And it was like, your first thought is, I can't wait to tell my friends who are here at this event with me.
Yeah.
It wasn't telling your girlfriends on the East Coast.
Right.
It wasn't telling
whatever.
It was instant. Like, they want that instant. And then her realizing, oh, that moment with her friends was so much more important.
Yeah.
But then, all the commentary on this of like people going back and forth of, oh my God, Gen Z not knowing. And it was like, yeah, but that's not, thinking like, oh, I got to wait to tell them.
Yeah.
This immediate gratification. It's like, it would have been immediately gratifying to see a little heart emoji on that text.
Yeah.
But actually getting to see their faces was more meaningful. And I think there's a lot of that we forgot. Like,
Yeah,
can you
well,
wait to tell somebody?
and they never even knew what it felt like to have pre-connected to everyone at all times. So they don't
Yeah.
even know what that even feels like. You
It
and I
wasn't even
do.
in her head to think,
Yeah,
I can't wait to tell them.
right. It was more like a hang up, and this is causing me stress to some
It was.
degree,
And then she realized it was worth it.
yeah. And
That-
that's
that
with
gap.
all things now, where people want to quickly take the photo instead of being there and being lucid. Like yesterday, we had this musician in the backyard, and it was so cool to just listen to some music and be in the moment. And I didn't need to sit there and film it the whole time and try to send it while I'm there and tag people, even though that's cool and you could bring people. But I like to just take it in, you know?
Yeah.
It's like that's really missing from the younger group. But then I always think there's a disgust factor that comes through as an evolutionary trait where the new generation will come up, hopefully, and be like, we don't want to be like that culture. We want to break things and go back maybe to
Yeah.
hopefully some in-person
There's kind of
stuff.
figuring out a balance, and
Yeah.
this is also new, and we haven't figured it out. And
It's a new phenomena.
yeah, and I think there's a lot of ones with parents that do not realize how radically different that is. Like we were talking about not having cell phones in high school. I think a lot of parents who are more our age don't realize how fundamentally different the experience of being a teenager in the 2020s is than being in the 90s.
Yeah.
It's fundamentally different.
Yeah.
And I think most parents don't understand it.
Right.
They're not really aware of it.
They're too stuck.
And they don't get what is the difference or not. It can't be. They don't know how to have these conversations because that experience. Like, I bet the difference of being a parent in the 50s versus a parent in the 90s is way more similar than the difference of being a parent in the 90s versus the today. Like the difference there is more
radical,
fundamental.
Yeah, I could see that.
The
relatability.
Yeah.
Like when the 60s came out, it broke everything, and it was probably hard for that.
Yeah, but I bet from the 60s to the 40s is not as different as
no way
the 90s to today.
Exactly.
Even the early 2000s to now is so much fun. People don't understand exponential.
Yep.
Kids' minds are not
built
for this.
Yeah. Nor are the old adults that are stuck and don't know what exponential is,
Yeah, I can't think of that. Or, the proportionality's not there. You fuck up online and it follows you forever. You fuck up as a 15-year-old before you got your wrist slapped and no one remembered in 3 months.
Yeah, and their whole lives are on film.
Their whole lives. Online gambling, you get these kids that are addicted to that right out of the gate, and that's a whole fucking
and then
bag of
that
worms.
whole like social dilemma, that movie about the attention war and how algorithms are being designed to capture attention, and so there's this massive sort of psychological warfare to some degree just for profit that we've never dealt with as a species. We never had a supercomputer in our pocket, and so we are in the beginning of a new birth canal of weird chaos.
Weird chaos is a great birth canal of weird chaos. That's a great but it's one that what we do is inherently live. It's in person. It is what it's supposed to be. Is that experience in a building with human beings, with your friends. And I think that's going to become more and more important. The catch is I don't know if it becomes more valuable. Right. But it becomes more important.
Yeah.
It's some weird.
But it's also,
changes.
We were talking how cool it is for me to be able to use. You can use it for so much more access. Like if I want to look up a show on a Thursday night, it's so much easier than when I was young. You had one spot you could go to. I'd go to the Yucca Tap Room, and I'd be like, I hope that there's some good music here tonight. Or
no, there's pluses on all of it, which is why you can't. You can't be a Luddite and go backwards, but I think there's a lack of proportionality. I think parents and society doesn't know how to talk to kids about this.
There's no training manual for it.
There's no training manual for it. And I think we're not set up as a society right now to have nuanced conversations about it.
Yeah.
Cannot be Facebook bad, Facebook great. Like there's some figuring out the right balances of these things. that none of these for-profit companies want to do, and the public is not savvy enough to do.
Yeah.
And telling kids they can't be on Instagram is not the answer. That's not going to work.
Right.
But trying to figure out
how to think more
how to
clearly
fix about it, how to explain it.
Yeah.
I think schools and parents don't know how to talk about it. Not that I necessarily do, but they don't. But
yeah, it's a weird thing where you can almost tell that we are in some form of exponential birth canal. So we're in the middle of it happening in real time. So you're trying to stay afloat, and each person's having their own experience. If you have kids, it's like, well, when do you give them an iPad? And well, I would want to research that, but most people are just trying to pay their bills and they're drowning in their own busyness. So it's hard to map it out in real time.
So much more complicated.
Sure.
It's so much more complicated. And, where
there's like suicides from AI now, chatbots, and they're talking. It's like there's so much shit happening. You can't regulate exponential tech. And so there's all these unintended ripple effects of it.
We choose not to regulate that.
Yeah. But I just mean it would be hard for you to know where to even begin when it's happening. Like in this conversation, there's probably 30 startups that we don't even know exist happening. And it's hard to know where to begin with regulation.
I think one is you just remove the lie. You remove the lie. These companies are going to create billionaires. They can pay lots of fines.
Yeah.
And so some of it is making sure that we're not. There's a lot of immunities that were given at the start of the internet age because we didn't want to slow it down.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we gave too much. And with AI, you just say, hey, you're liable for what your programs do.
Yeah.
How much you want to throw these out into the world without lots of testing? Great, do it.
But you will be
But you are held accountable.
Yeah.
And I saw this one clip. Someone had AI-powered garbage truck. They're testing self-driving garbage truck. This garbage truck tried to pick up a sports car because it thought this car was a dumpster.
God.
And it ruined this, $100,000 sports car. And then they're in court. The clip I saw was them in court and the city arguing, well, he should just put it on his insurance. We're not responsible. It's not our fault this AI messed up.
Yeah, but if it was a
person.
And
the judge just went, no, you're liable for this. This is the cost of you doing this.
Right.
You have to pay to fix this car because your AI did it. And I think that it can be that simple. And you say these AI models that are, remember, these are the wealthiest companies on the planet.
Yeah.
They're the wealthiest companies that have ever existed. They're the most well-financed companies that have ever existed in the history of this planet. And they're going, well, we can't be held responsible for what our product does.
Sure.
And for somehow that's working, and Waymo put up a bond to say we're insuring all these Waymos. If a Waymo gets in an accident, we're accepting responsibility. And it's like, why can't we hold AI companies to that? Cars, it's easier for everyone to wrap their head around. If a car gets in an accident, we have a whole framework to do what happens when a car gets in an accident. What do the penalties look like? How does that work? There's a whole system that functions.
Sure.
We have very clear laws on that. Who's liable in every there's not a consequence, an accident you can think of that we haven't decided which car is at fault or how that works. And so it's in that case, it's easy for us to wrap our head around how do we treat a Waymo? Well, we already have the traffic laws.
Right.
But with AI, it's like, well, how do we hold them accountable? And it's like, I think it's got to be lots of court cases. And we decided to give Facebook immunity for whatever reason and eliminated that. So, if kids on Instagram commit suicide, who cares because Facebook's immune? That's your problem.
Yeah.
That's not our problem as a product. That's your problem. For some reason, we gave the internet that immunity. And I don't know why we give that to AI. If you want to put these models out that are not tested and are incomplete, you're liable for bad advice it gives. There's rules around medical advice. Well, if these AIs are giving medical advice that's terrible advice, you should be liable. There's a lawsuit going on where a woman fired her attorneys to use AI instead and filed all these bullshit briefs.
Mm-hmm.
The briefs turns out they're filled with hallucinations, citing cases that don't exist, citing judges that don't exist. And it took hundreds of filings before the other side realized what was going on. They were spending all this money,
Wow.
wasting time. And so now they're suing, saying, no, you wasted our time. They're suing the AI model of,
Yeah.
you were doing,
You just cost us time and energy here.
because the AI filed these motions with the court.
That's wild.
Well, if a lawyer had filed those motions with the court, lawyer would be held liable.
Sure.
We don't need to create new rules there. We just said, hey, AI bot, you filed bullshit filings. You're liable for the bullshit filings.
Right.
An AI company, if you can monetize this enough where those penalties are worth the cost of your doing business, whatever, but you need to pay. Like, that's the cost of you doing business.
Yeah.
Your AI model costs someone real money in the real world.
Yeah.
And you're saying you shouldn't be liable because you want to be a trillionaire? Like, that's the argument is like, well, I don't get to become a trillionaire if I have to actually pay for the damage my product does.
Right.
And I don't know why it's that
crazy.
complicated.
Yeah. And that seems to be one of the great existential threats of our time is exponential tech being deployed by people that have a lot of money without any repercussions for the unintended consequences on all scales right now.
On all scales.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the big one with Tesla's self-driving, their robo-taxis.
Mm-hmm.
Waymo right now has solved the liability by just saying they go to each state that they're in, put up a big bond and say, we own these cars, we're liable for them.
Right.
We're going to work it out in the courts, whatever, we're liable, but we acknowledge the liability.
Yeah.
We may not agree whatever the penalty should be if something happens, but we're acknowledging that Google is insuring these cars. The Tesla model is they want to sell you the car and sell you that liability. So if you buy a Tesla robotaxi and you put it out on the road and it's self-driving and it does something stupid,
wow,
they're saying you as the guy who bought the car, that's not our car. We sold it. It's not our fault it didn't work.
I didn't know that.
And where that liability is, and they're going to say, well, he didn't run his car right.
Sure.
And
that's crazy.
That liability is a big question of who is taking the liability on that car. And Tesla's answer is, we don't own the car. We sold it.
That's crazy.
Now
that's like saying my computer explodes in my house and it's like, well, I already bought it. So I actually am liable.
Yeah. But how do you insure? The insurance on those robocabs is going to be the most interesting piece of how to. And now you go to an insurance company and say, I need to insure my robotaxi. By the way, I have no idea how this software updates.
Yeah.
What this software does or doesn't do. An insurance company is going to have to come say, do I want to take the liability that software actually works?
Right.
Because Tesla doesn't want the responsibility of it.
Yeah.
Tesla's saying it's not our problem.
That's freaking crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't doubt it because of the way that company's been flowing.
Well, they've lied about everything forever.
Yeah. And
but some of this, you just got to go to the courts and let old school, did your company do the damage and actually hold them liable? And if they're in court every day defending all these things, then maybe they go, maybe we should put a filter around.
Yeah.
Maybe we shouldn't let our AIs do this. Maybe we shouldn't let our AIs do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think are some of the biggest concerns when you look at the next 5-10 years of just the way the train is going off the tracks? It seems to me that we're living in a very strange time, right?
It's a very strange time.
Yeah. What are your concerns, not only as a business owner, but just as a human on the planet?
Biggest ones. That's I think the longer you go, the more optimistic I am. The shorter you go, the more pessimistic. I think it's going to be very to do 100 years from now, we look back at AI and think it was revolutionary and amazing. Yeah, 100 years ago, we're going to look back. 100 years from now, we're going to look back and go, this was a great step forward. In the next 10 years, does it do more harm than good? Very possibly. What does it look like?
Yeah.
And
not only AI, but everything. The transfer of wealth and
that's the one that's the income inequality is getting to record breaking.
Right. The printing of money, the crashing of the dollar, this whole weird transfer of wealth that's been obvious.
Yeah, this huge to the ultra wealthy, I don't know what you do about it, but it's
happening.
That it's getting worse and worse. And the idea that someone's going to create an AI model, be completely unaccountable for the negative consequences, and become a trillionaire.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how you square that. Like, that's the one that I don't know where you square.
Yeah, and I'm concerned with like information warfare, which is happening to where you can't tell what's real. And so then you have complete mind control, and then you have an authoritarian dictatorship that has control of your money flow based on your online, whatever the AI determines that your social credit might look like, or things like that are crazy that they're stepping into this arena within the next 5-10 years.
Washington Post sent out an email saying that to a ton of their subscribers, saying that they're going to see a rate increase. And at the bottom of the email said, your personal information in AI is used to determine your new rate. We're not raising it $5. We're looking at what we think you can afford to raise.
Wow.
That surveillance.
Yeah.
That surveillance pricing where two different people see a different price online based on the AI guessing what you think the product's worth.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like, that's going to be one that was easy to regulate. We just need to say no.
Yeah.
Like,
even like your emails now, the AI comes. It's like, this is new in the last few months. Is it synthesizes all your emails. So I'll look at an email. It says, in this conversation, you and Steve have been. Here's a synthesized version. It's like, well, who's in control of that information for the social credit system that they can be like in our emails and pulling data and owning it?
Who gets to see it? All that. So many questions that I don't have answers for.
Yeah. Well, you're being you, I'm sure, like me, even. You focus on the task within your reach that you're creating within your community, and you try to stay within that reach,
Yeah, I don't know how AI is going to affect my business, because the core of our business is real people in real life.
Mm-hmm.
Real performance. Do you see more things like gorillas or bands that have huge AI element? What is AI going to do recording? I'm sure it's going to have an impact, but like a human being performing on stage is not going away.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know what it looks like in 5 years, but like, that magic of that experience is not disappearing. So on one end, I'm not too worried about our business, but on the other hand of what is everything else, what does it mean for ticketing? What does it mean for marketing? What does it mean for cutting through attention?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But thinking like, did you watch the movie Hamnet? That was one of the Oscars.
I think so.
I
need to.
I just watched. It was up for Best Picture, didn't win, but it did win. What's her name? The Best Actress Oscar went to the actress in Hamnet. But the movie is about Shakespeare, and it's about Shakespeare's wife and Shakespeare. And the last 15 minutes of that movie is a performance of Hamlet at the Globe Theatre in London.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like the most moving thing. Like, that's a movie you're going to end crying.
Awesome.
Like, it's just so moving, but just sort of realizing that, like, wait, a few actors on stage 400 years ago.
Yeah.
And fundamentally what we're doing, our businesses now isn't fundamentally different than that.
That's amazing.
But like, just thinking of this, like, that moving moment.
Cool.
Is still going to be there.
Yeah, people want to be moved, and music is one of the ultimate ways to do it. And film,
and bringing people together in a room, in a space, and experiencing it together.
Yeah, there's nothing like a live show. Comedy's like that. You can watch a show on Netflix or something, but I love being in the room, like small little room with a good comedian. I used to go to the old Comedy Store out in LA, and on a Wednesday night, Bill Burr would come out and just be working out bits, and the room's vibrating, wah, wah, and everyone's crying, laughing.
That's what all the comedians realized, is that comedy didn't work on Zoom. It just unless there's people in the room,
there's energy.
You had to have that feedback, and that's where it's most fun.
Yeah,
I saw an interview a while ago with Lyra Cohen, who's the president of music for YouTube, and he was legendary label exec at Def Jam, and he helped work with the Beastie Boys and bring rap to America and, Run DMC and all that. And then was president at Interscope forever. And then he went over to YouTube years ago, and someone was talking to him, and he's at YouTube, the peak of online. And they were asking about musics and how do you know when, a musician is the real thing? And his answer was live. You've got to see it live.
Yeah.
Like, live is when you know it's real.
Yeah.
And this is coming from the guy that's the head of YouTube.
Right.
That's when is live. And I think, that we were talking earlier about, those sort of TikTok acts. It's like, a lot of people can make one great song. It's way harder to be great live.
Oh, yeah.
I think.
Yeah. I can't imagine all the nerves that they have, too. If they get on stage and they have thousands of fans and they've never been in a small room performing, how the fuck are they going to perform? So they're going to shit the bed and they're going to suck because their adrenaline's pumping. It's like going to be a fireman. If you're brand new, you're going to be tunnel vision. You don't remember the house. You come out and you're like, I don't remember the call.
I think sports is a way better analogy for music than I think often gets. But like, who thinks your first game should be in the Super Bowl?
Right. It's exactly right.
No matter how good you are.
Right.
Whose first game should be in the NBA?
Yeah.
Nobody's. Yeah. That should not be your first game. And some of these artists, they get these moments and it's blown up online. And then
comedians too.
Yeah.
The YouTube comedians or whatever, the Instagram comedians.
Yeah, more the influencer turned comedian. And it's like
they couldn't do the online gig.
Yeah. And
or the in-person gig.
The real. And it's like that sort of, the whole 10,000 hours, but also, it's like no athlete's first meet is at the Olympics.
Right.
And that's sort of what I was sort of talking about gatekeepers earlier is it's like you need that sort of pushback in that, practice games and start, you start in high school, then you play in college, then you go to the pros.
Yep.
Like you need that process to act at that level. And some reason with music, people think you get to skip those steps.
Yeah.
And that oh wait, what do you mean I'm not good enough to be in the NBA yet?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, have you ever played a basketball game? Well, I shoot with my friends. Like I'm a good shot. And it's like, yeah, that's not the same thing.
Yeah. Even this is way better to me if I can have this versus I talk to people that are in like Germany and it's through a screen. And it's so weird because there is an element of disconnection when you're Zooming with somebody than just being in the raw present moment with someone.
Yeah.
It's cool that we can do it though at the same time. I'm like, dude, I can talk to someone in Germany, but it's never the same. In person will always be the thing. And I think with AI, people are going to crave it more than ever. So I think live music shows will probably be one of the things that like brings people together forever.
You're seeing that now. I mean, just like the cost of concerts and the value of concerts has gone up so much in the last few years. And, how much people are craving those big A-list moments. And unfortunately right now, I think the dynamic is it's really driving people to those same big events, like the value people are putting on being at a Taylor Swift show, being at a Beyonce show, being at, the Sabrina Carpenter show.
See, and I'd rather go to the Crescent.
Yeah, no, but right now we're in a moment where those cultural moments it is so much cooler to be at those moments culturally right now than it was. And the underground is a little, it's not as cool to go to Crescent as, the small shows as it was 15 years ago. But 15 years ago, I think arenas were kind of slouching. I think right now it's the opposite. People want those shared moments.
Yeah.
They want the must see, like I have to go to that show. I have to see that.
Yeah.
And they want to go to the ones that I think a lot of people are gravitating those because they want to go to the one that all their friends want to go to. So like that is, the show at Crescent, not all your friends want to go to, whereas the big show, all your friends do.
Yeah. A lot of people do it for their own status seeking. Like I was at the thing,
Well, yeah, I mean, that's part of it. And it's the bragging about real life, it's the getting the Instagram and showing all your friends you were there, which telling all your friends you were at Rebel last night isn't as cool as telling all your friends you
Yeah.
saw Sabrina Carpenter last night or whatever.
Funny, because I
But,
would just. What's your favorite venues here and across the nation?
Here, I mean, here's hard. I mean, because we work with all of them, and there's some. Phoenix actually has some really good venues right now.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of good. I was working at Crescent when it first opened, so that's always going to be super special. And
Sound wise, though, and yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, Crescent's always been nationwide. Little easier. The Mohawk in Austin. I always love the Mohawk. There's something. It's just weird and quirky in such a unique way that I like. A weird, almost like mini amphitheater. Austin has so many great venues. There's a ton of great venues. Stubbs in Austin is great. First Avenue, Minneapolis is great. Always love the Troubadour. Something about those rooms that are kind of quirky and not perfect, and that's what makes them amazing.
Yeah. Even Valley Bar sounds nice. It's crispy.
Great. Yeah. Very clean sounding.
Yeah, it's
in that
always
basement.
crispy there. I'm like, wow, it sounds great for I don't know why. You would know why, but
a little bit of it is the ceiling.
Yeah.
And it's the same at Rebel. If you look at Rebel and Valley Bar ceilings are the same, where the ceiling, because of the beams, there's something about the way the beams break up the sound horizontal, because the beams are perpendicular to the sound, creates a nice break in the.
So it's not just bouncing fully off walls.
What you don't want is a smooth ceiling like this.
Got it, because it just arcs.
And what you also don't want is one where the sound gets in, like, because the way the pillars are. I don't know. I'm not. I know this much about. I know a little bit about it, but just enough. But
we
were talking when we did Rebel to the sound guy about what he wanted to do. And then he walked in and he looked up and he's like, "No, that's what I was trying to do. That's what I was talking about.
It was already that way.
It was already that way.
Yeah, from the
it's
mason jar.
breaking up the ceiling to not get lots of echo and whatever.
And the mason jar had some of the craziest big bands that blew up before.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Anybody who's anybody in rock play there. Nirvana, Guns N' Roses, Metallica. Linkin Park's first show was there.
That's cool.
Green Day, Tool, Rage Against the Machine, all of them played there. Saw Fall Out Boy there. Black Keys played there.
Were you planning to buy that before? Like, what made you buy Rebel or create Rebel? How did that work? Or buy the mason jar?
It came on the market, and my business partner Chucky Duff, it had sort of come on the market, and everyone was sharing the mason jars for sale again. And he reached out and said, "I think these numbers actually kind of make sense now." And we had talked about doing a venue in the past, and we looked at it, and we walked away from it a couple of times and haggled. And he bought the building, and we redid it to be Rebel. And I had just left Crescent when this happened, and was just promoting shows, and it seemed like the next step. And I was booking so many shows that were at that size, where it's like, oh, I know how to book shows this size. I'm doing a lot of. I can fill this calendar, and it just seemed like the next step. And I was telling someone else about one of the neat things. So one thing I'm very proud of with what Rebel is at now is when we opened, and I'd get all these people coming up to me and asking, "Are we going to bring back the bands that used to be at Mason Jar?" And they would always mention Red Hot Chili Peppers, Limp Bizkit, whatever. And it's like, Soundgarden. And it's like, those bands are never playing here again.
Yeah.
But we're going to book the next generation of artists. And hopefully in 10 years, kids will be saying that they saw their favorite act here the same way someone saw Nirvana there in the 90s.
Yeah. It's in that stepping stage.
Yeah. And it's like, that's what I can't book those bands that Tool is. They're going to play at the Sphere. They're not going to play at Rebel Lounge again. But I can book those bands that now people are saying back. And you look at all these bands that are playing AZ Financial, or Chapel Roan played at Rebel twice. Benson Boone played at Rebel. Mitski played at Rebel. Alex G played at Rebel. All these artists that are now selling thousands of tickets and are some of the
Yeah.
most respected artists today,
It's cool, man.
all played at Rebel.
Yeah.
Or a lot of them did, not all of them, but
Yeah.
and that's what the sort of goal was not how do we get these bands play here, but
Yeah.
Nirvana wasn't Nirvana when they played the Mason Jar.
Yeah. You see them in their fruition.
Yeah, and
and give them the opportunity to work out those stages.
Yeah, and a lot of the shows we do at Van Buren are artists that we had booked at Rebel before. And one of my always favorite ones is when someone come up to me and be like, "Dude, why hasn't this band ever played Phoenix?" And I'll be like, "They've played Phoenix 6 times. What are you talking about?" Because when someone likes discovering it and doesn't realize, and it's like, yeah,
they've been here.
They've been here. Yeah. You just didn't notice it, and so that's one of the little
And I love going to like the Van Buren first show, and I love the openers, especially when I don't know who they are. It's my favorite piece is when you go to a show and the opener just kicks ass, and you're like, I trust that this artist brought that opener, just like with comedy. They brought him for a reason. They brought him for a reason. So like that's my favorite part of shows is getting there super early for the openers.
Oftentimes, yeah.
Yeah. Not always, but a lot of times it works out where you're like, holy shit, that was
especially
really cool.
At that level when you're at the Van Buren and you really get to like control who's opening for you. And like lots of times that is exciting.
Actually, Frank Turner's last show I saw here, his opener blew my mind. I don't remember his name offhand, but I was like, God, that guy's voice was so good. And I got on Spotify and saved it and started going down his rabbit hole. But
I wonder who that is.
He just came out and just sounded amazing. He had 2 openers actually, I believe, but one of them had this like raspy voice, and I just remember him being really cool.
I'm sure I was at that show, and so many I used to book Frank Turner a lot. He was definitely one where, the first time I booked him in 07, 08 or something, we had 30 people at Modified.
Yeah.
And then
Last Exit, I saw him at Last Exit when it was like tiny.
We did a Frank Turner at Last Exit?
A long time ago. He was on the back patio, and I was just like blown away that he was doing it. It was probably a long time ago. When he was
that would have to be. I don't remember that.
And I just remember it was tiny, and I was there because my buddy Kevin loves Frank Turner, and it was cool because it was so little.
Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, no, but I just went down and saw him with the Descendants in Tucson.
Cool. I used to love the Descendants.
Yeah, Descendants are legendary.
Yeah,
and that was fun. We went down to see that show, and that was a show that
where were they playing there?
They played the Rialto Theater.
Oh, I love that.
Another
theater.
Great.
I book shows there all the time, like to go see them.
Yeah. That was one that a show I had nothing to do with other than going down and being a fan and
cool.
Yeah,
enjoy it.
Being good friends with Frank Turner is one of those ones where I don't really do his shows anymore, but he kind of grew past that, but is just dear friend.
Cool, man.
So
yeah.
But
what is your guys' relationship like with all the venues in Tucson, and how is Tucson Phoenix relationships?
I book a lot of shows at all the venues in Tucson. We do a lot down there, so we have shows down there. Work with all the clubs.
Yeah.
Do 191 Tool, Club Congress, Rialto, now the new La Rosa.
Cool.
So we work with them all the time. They're all great. They're all great to work with, and
I grew up down there, so I still go down to see my folks and stuff, and I love seeing shows down there. It's just fun. I love the vibe in Tucson.
There's some just really cool. I like all those venues are just good venues and good little scene there, and we do. I don't make it down to most of our shows in Tucson, but we do quite a lot down there. And
what about like Orpheum and stuff up in Flag?
We do a few shows here and there.
Yeah,
don't do as much, but we've done a few shows with them. They're great to work with.
Cool.
We just don't do a lot in Flagstaff.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, Flagstaff is also just that little bit further away that makes it a little challenging than Tucson. And
for the artists too, because it's like out of their way a little bit.
And I have a better grasp of what things will do in Tucson because we do so much. So, and then we also just started a few years ago doing shows in New Mexico. So
cool.
We do a few things in Albuquerque, not a lot, but we do a little bit out there too.
I have not hung out there, but I've always been told I would like it.
Albuquerque's all right.
Yeah, like Santa Fe, and I just haven't explored
Santa Fe's beautiful. I haven't spent time in Santa Fe, but it's beautiful. Stayed a night there or whatever. But Albuquerque's cool little. Albuquerque and Tucson kind of remind me a lot of each other, and kind of some scale wise.
Yeah, desert vibes.
Yeah, desert vibes.
They embrace the desert.
Yeah, so something neat about that,
And then you like to help raise money. You were talking a little bit about helping for education and different things like that, or helping to
It-
coordinate and connect people so that things like
yeah,
that can happen.
one is we do a lot of benefit concerts every year. Just end up sometimes it's artists saying they want to do it. Sometimes it's artists reaching out on that. Sometimes a lot of our shows have some charitable element where the artist says we want $1 to go to this cause. So that happens all the time, and I don't want to. That's the artist saying it, so I don't want to take too much credit. But that's something that happens
Cool.
regularly on our events. Is there's a charitable piece to them, but then we also like to host things ourselves and do different stuff. But the one that I was telling you about earlier is we do this annual event for Rosie's House called the Phoenix Rock Lottery. And Rosie's House is an amazing organization that does traditional music education for kids who don't have that in their schools. So think teaching violin and piano and trumpet or trombone or anything, traditional music education. And we do this fun show, Phoenix Rock Lottery. It's one of my favorite shows we do every year. Every year it's one of my favorites because what we do is we take 25 different musicians from different bands, and then the morning of the show, we draw names out of a hat to create new bands.
Cool.
And they have to write a set to play that night with strangers.
Wow.
And
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's my favorite event because it just puts
pressure,
tons of different musicians in a room and say, go create something real. And then they only ever play it that one night.
Wow.
That's
cool.
They never.
Has anything ever emerged out of that where they wanted to do a new version of that or record it or?
A few things have ended up on there. Jim Atkins from Jimmy Eat World did it, and he went and re-recorded a couple of the songs. Ended up on a solo,
cool.
A solo Jim Atkins 7-inch he did, and then he actually did it twice. He did the first and second year, and the second year he went and brought his band back together, and they recorded a cassette. And they put out a cassette of their record.
That's awesome.
Of the 3 songs. And we did a show at Rebel. So that band played one more time and did their set again to release a cassette. And they only ever played twice. But
nice.
And then for that show, we actually had everyone else's bands opened.
Cool.
And then they headlined, and it was a fun. Few other things have come out of it, but nothing major.
Yeah, that's awesome.
A few collabs, and a few people definitely played with each other after, and played in each other's records or whatever. But it's a cool community, bringing people together. The first year I was really worried that our lineup was too homogenous. I was like, oh, everyone's already going to know each other and it's not going to. I was a little worried that it was. And then I was amazed how many musicians in that first group didn't know each other. And I was like, how do you guys not know each other? You guys play shows next to each other and you played on the same bills. And they're like, oh, well, I've seen his band, but I've never met him. And
cool.
Now you're in a room with a stranger making
that's badass.
Music. And,
I like that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
We've done it 12 years now. So
damn, that's cool.
So we do it every January, and it's always a charity event for Rosie's House. And
cool.
It's that exactly what we're talking about, putting people in a room together. And,
Yeah, what are you excited about right now in the next 5 years with your life and just with music in general?
My life, I don't know.
I guess in general, just the way life is,
in work, I think there has not been a better time to be a new musician than right now. The number of new acts we're working with that are growing the way they're supposed to has never been better in the time I've been booking shows. The number of, okay, we're going to book you at Rebel, then we're going to book you at Crescent, then we're going to book you at Van Buren, and then everyone's going to know who you are.
Nice.
That pipeline, the number of artists across genres, across sounds, across scenes, the energy in new music right now is the best I've seen since I've been doing it. And that's exciting. And a lot of these new bands, I love when I don't know how to describe a band.
Yeah.
They're a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and I don't really know, 10, 15 years ago, it felt like everyone was derivative.
Yeah.
And it was like every new band, it was like, well, you want to be Mumford & Sons, you want to be Fall Out Boy, you want to be My Chemical Romance, you want to be this.
Yeah.
And it was so easy to put, you want to be Arcade Fire. And so many of the new bands were so derivative, and everyone sort of was like, oh, I know exactly what box you're trying to be. And now I look at some of these new bands and I go, I don't know where you fit.
Yeah.
Like you have all these different, and this is going back to that kids listening to what do you listen to? Everything.
Yep.
And like bringing in different influences, bringing in different sounds, and the amount of diversity in every conceivable way. I think more Americans are listening to foreign language music than ever before. You look at the most streamed artist in America is Bad Bunny in Spanish.
Damn. I didn't know that.
Oh, and Spotify worldwide, he's been the most listened to artist the last 4 years in a row.
Wow. That's
and
wild.
He's been number one listened to artist in America.
Wow.
In Spanish.
That's wild.
Granted, a huge part of that fan base speaks Spanish, but a huge part of that fan base doesn't.
Right.
And
that's cool.
So that's a fun one. The amount of like foreign artists that are can sort of have a career here, or artists that are mixing that, or
it's the best time to be a listener too.
I think so.
I can't tell people what kind of music I like. I'm like, what mood am I in and what am I doing? Because I can now pick based on my activity.
Yeah, that's an interesting one of the switch to streaming, and especially saw someone from Amazon talking about how when they connected to Alexa to music, they realized they had to categorize music totally differently.
Okay.
And, because the way people
queued it
up did not match the way you search for it if you were searching on like iTunes.
Yeah.
And so when people say, I want upbeat music from the 80s, well, what does upbeat mean? That wasn't a genre, so instead of the ties that people might, I'm looking for hip hop. I'm looking for gangster rap. I'm listening to hardcore. I'm listening, Americana. People say these sort of more abstract.
Yeah.
And they realize that Amazon, and I know Spotify has done the same, they had to go back and add all these other tags to songs to describe what the vibe is, not the more concrete.
Yeah.
This is a jazz record from the 50s.
Yeah. That's interesting.
And so they had to because the way you verbally say what you want is different than if you were searching.
Right. And we had remember a 6-disc changer was a big tech jump. We're like, we can have 6 CDs in the car. That's a lot to choose from. And now it's like, can you imagine being limited to 6 discs?
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's so interesting how fast that went. Boom.
Just immediately.
Overnight. And like, I just love music right now. It's the coolest time ever for music.
I think it's really good. And the stuff can get.
And Shazam, like I'll be at the farmer's market. I can hit a button and boom, I can have it on a playlist that night. And then find a whole rabbit hole of music like that because of that tech,
Yeah.
It's so cool.
It is really cool. And you can just.
And then look at their concerts on Spotify. I'll be like, I'm going to go to a show, in Tennessee or something because they're there on that weekend. And you can book a trip based around music, which is something I always do.
One is music travel is up dramatically. The number of people that are traveling to see concerts is up dramatically, and some of that is it's easy to find out about
musical events.
When in high school, I didn't know who was playing in LA, and then you started getting websites right when we were coming into musicals, like when that first started being a thing. You're asking about Live Nation. There's a great book, actually nerdy book. I don't want to necessarily say it's great, but if you're in this, it is called Ticket Masters. And I forget the subtype, but it's like sort of the history of the ticketing industry. And the most fascinating was the chapter on the Grateful Dead. And there's this whole chapter on the Grateful Dead were one of the first bands in the 60s to create their own fan club ticketing. Oh. And they had this call line where you called a number and it gave you how to buy tickets, like mail a self-addressed, mail a cashier's check in a self-addressed envelope. And they were the first to do that. And this is in the 60s. And then the Grateful Dead developed this whole culture of traveling to see the Dead.
Yep.
Why did that grow up around the Dead and not the Who or anyone else? People did not travel to see Led Zeppelin that way, but they did to see the Dead. And it was all technological because people could.
Yeah.
because the Deadheads found these numbers. They were not the most popular band,
Right.
but you could find, they were the only band at the time. You called this number and you could hear all the tour dates, and you could hear,
that's amazing,
at a time when no one else, you saw the newspaper ad for your show. Maybe you heard the radio ad for your show. Well, if I'm in Phoenix, I have no idea when they're playing in Albuquerque.
Yeah.
But for the Grateful Dead, you could call this number and then say, April 7th, Phoenix, Arizona, send this.
So then other bands had
April
to have jumped
8th.
on, right? And
Well, not right away. Like, it took a while. Like, no one noticed this.
Right.
And then
interesting. That's part of that book. They
the Ticketmasters. There's a whole chapter on the Grateful Dead, and then now all these bands have artist fan club ticketing or whatever, and really it's just a different link you click online. But with the Dead, it was this a total cultural thing. And then what they started doing was, because this is old school, like the promoter mailed them a certain stack of the tickets.
Got it.
So the promoter mailed them a stack of, here's 20% of the house.
Yep.
We're going to mail it to you. You sell them, and then we'll settle up whatever the cost is.
Right.
Well, now they just have they have a stack of tickets for their show. They would start playing games with the tickets, and what they'd do is they would go, "Oh, Steve and Ryan are both coming from Phoenix. We should put them next to each other."
Oh, cool.
And then you go, "Oh, wow, you're from Phoenix? I'm from Phoenix. What are the odds?"
Oh, wow.
Well, the odds is some hippie friend of the Dead who worked for their ticketing company
knew that.
Thought, wouldn't it be funny if, Steve and Ryan are both from Phoenix. We should put them sitting next to each other.
That's brilliant.
And then so all these people would like meet that way, especially couples they would always put single guys next to single women. And all this like built this culture around them.
Interesting.
And that's why people traveled for the Dead that didn't do it for other bands.
Yeah.
And it comes back to the technology. They didn't realize that this was some.
That's interesting because I always thought it was like psychedelics. They wanted to buck the system,
that was part, but that's a piece of it too.
Yeah, the Magic School Bus, and
that was a piece of it.
Yeah,
definitely that. But the other part was that you actually could.
Yeah.
If you were a fan of the Rolling Stones, you couldn't find out when they were playing another city.
Yeah.
At least like from where you were, unless you had a friend who called you and said, "Hey, they're playing in my city. Do you want to come?"
Right.
But just the logistics of that.
Books like that, like Malcolm Gladwell does that very well.
Oh, yeah.
Where he picks cultural components. You're like, I would have never known that's how Nike or whatever he picks apart.
Yeah, some of them are really interesting. And the Dead one, that chapter was really...
Yeah.
That was like the most interesting part of that book. And I'm not a Deadhead.
I love stuff like that, though.
And
like
it was
how
like
technology changes culture.
And it's one where they didn't notice they were doing it.
Right.
That wasn't the goal.
No.
The goal wasn't to make it...
Most of the times that's how it is. It's like an unintended phenomenon.
It was an unintended consequence that they made it easy to travel with them. They made it easy to find out where they were playing.
Yeah.
And their fans could. And their fans could go, they're playing in Phoenix on Wednesday, but they're playing in Albuquerque on Saturday. I can drive to Albuquerque. I'm going to see them twice.
Yeah.
And no one else could do that at the time.
Yeah.
Or at least easy. I mean, obviously, if you had... your college roommate was in a different city and they said, "Hey, you should come see them when they're," but that was like hard, the friction was more there.
Yeah. Well, I've had you for a while. I don't know how long, but I want to ask you, I ask everyone that's on this show, if this was the last time you could speak to the world and you were going to die today, would you want to share anything with the world?
Oh God, I wish I knew that was your question you asked. I listened to a number of your podcasts, but I don't think I got to the end of any of them.
Good.
Oh,
it's always better when people don't actually.
Oh, if this was the last thing I was saying to people, what?
Is there anything you'd want to say?
I think we just need to all be more humble and more curious. Like, that's why I love looking at your bookshelf. Like, none of us have the answers. None of us, there's so much that we all don't know, and we just all need to be a little more curious and a little bit more humble about that and admit maybe we don't know as much as we think we do. And I don't know. Be more humble and be more curious.
Dude, I love that. That's a damn good message for this time. It's like everyone's righteous and confident about everything. And we're like, maybe we should be more uncertain and curious. It's a good message.
Yeah. It's the Dunning-Kruger. The more confident you are, or the more knowledgeable you are, the less confident you are.
Yeah.
You know?
And life is cool when you're curious. Like even meeting you is fun. I didn't know anything about you. And we're just shooting the shit on the back patio at Gracie's. And I'm like, you would actually be a really cool guest,
Yeah, glad that was the thought. This was fun. Yeah, no, but it's Socrates, admit you don't know anything.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and maybe take a second to realize that where you're coming from is not where someone else is coming from.
Yep. Learn from everybody.
Learn from everybody.
Yep. Right on, dude. It was fun.
Yeah,
It'll be fun
it was great.
continuing to get to know you. Appreciate you.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure we'll see you at Gracie's sooner than later.
Absolutely, brother.
So,
thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
What we call reality is in fact nothing more than a culturally sanctioned and linguistically reinforced hallucination of some sort.